What's going on, everybody? Welcome to LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. This is Thursday, October 3rd. Much to discuss on today's program. Much of it will revolve around this whole Trump, Biden, Ukraine, now China. You know, all of that good stuff. But we are broadcasting live on Twitch, YouTube, and Periscope Live. So hello everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. Hope everybody's feeling well. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so and hit that bell so that you can get all the updated content from YouTube, from LTMB on YouTube as soon as we drop it. I have to say, this is getting a little exhausting, all of this different coverage about this Ukraine thing. But this is not recycled talking points or recycled narratives, recycled analysis that we are having to delve into. It's all new. It's all new.
I knew this was coming, though. You knew this was going to continue.
Oh yeah.
Especially if the topic of impeachment inquiries was still on the table. Mm-hmm. You knew this was going to get better or worse, depending on how you view it.
And knowing Trump, he's going to make it worse.
Yeah. That's essentially why we're talking about this in the first place. It's because of him.
True.
Because of him.
True.
Not because of Adam Schiff.
No, because he could just.
Not because of Joe Biden. Not because of Hunter Biden.
He could just stay silent.
He could.
He could choose to, but that ain't Trump. But before we get into that, let's get into Amber Guyger, because that's a continuation of some, of course, we talked about that coverage. We talked about that on the last program on Tuesday, how she was not sentenced, but the verdict. She was convicted of murder. And so we just talked about how, kind of shocked, police officer being convicted of murder. It doesn't happen every day. Definitely doesn't happen in every situation that you see these things take place. So it was a fortunate event, fortunate happening. But then, of course, the sentencing phase commences, and it did so on Tuesday, and then it wrapped up yesterday, Wednesday. And so the end result is Amber Guyger has been sentenced to 10 years in prison. She will be eligible for parole in 5 years. So that's the number that you really have to pay attention to, because usually they do get off on, you know, good behavior on parole when they do come up for parole. So
in this case, it's a police officer, so
yeah, not going to be in Gen Pop.
No,
probably not going to be, of course.
So she has no. She probably has no opportunity to even behave badly.
I wouldn't think so. Wouldn't think so.
We've already seen some members of the criminal justice system already extend some sympathy towards her. So I wouldn't doubt that that same kind of sympathy wouldn't be extended to her when her parole comes.
Right. And so that's where we have to bring up some other things, because you're talking about parole, and you said that sympathy, you know, it has already been extended to her.
Right after the sentencing.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is that sympathy extended to her from just members of law enforcement, that community, whatever. And when she does come up for parole, likely she will be freed the first time she does come up from parole in 5 years. But what will aid her in that parole hearing is what took place after she was sentenced.
Oh yes, of course, and to me that was irresponsible. Now I won't get on the brother. Well, there's a larger conversation surrounding the brother.
Right.
Look, his brother died, so he might be looking for closure. So whatever.
Well, let's put it. We got to show the video first and everything. We got to explain exactly what happened. If you haven't seen it, if you don't know what happened, we got to lay this out for you first. So it wasn't too long after that Amber Guyger was sentenced that one of Botham Jean's brothers took the stand for a victim impact statement. His name is Brant Jean, and so he took the stand, and he, you know, this is you know, the victim's family's time to just make a statement to the you know, the perpetrator, the one that has been convicted. Tell them whatever, you know, that they want to tell them. Tell them how they've hurt the family. Just whatever they want to say. The judge's instructions were just that the words were not threatening and no profanity. So what Brant John did though was pretty much not excuse the actions of Amber Guyger, but forgive them in totality. So let him speak for himself, and then we'll come back and discuss.
I personally want the best for you. And I wasn't gonna ever say this in front of my family or anyone, but I don't even want you to go to jail. I want the best for you, because I know that's exactly what both of them would want you to do. And the best would be give your life to Christ. I'm not gonna say anything else. I think giving your life to Christ would be the best thing that both of them would want you to do. Again, I love you as a person, and I don't wish anything bad on you. I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? Please?
Yes.
All right. So with that backdrop,
like I said, there's a lot going on here. He's a young individual. He's young and heavily influenced by the Christian church. So again, like looking at the context of the situation, his brother died. He is looking for closure. That coupled with the Christian church being a heavy influence on his life, kind of, I don't want to use the word manipulates, but it kind of does manipulate, especially black people, to extend forgiveness. Because forgiveness in some Christian circles, and I would say Christian circles that comprise of black people, heavily rely upon forgiving those people who are abusing you. And this guilt being attached to the act of non-forgiveness. So if you're growing up in a Christian environment like him, he thinks not forgiving people is automatically bad. And so there's going to be a certain level of guilt that he holds on himself and puts on his own shoulders if he doesn't offer forgiveness. And I do think that, you know, even though I'm not going to like get on him too much, I do think we do need to have a broader conversation surrounding why black people are always the ones, or the group specifically, that are responsible for extending forgiveness to those that abuse them. I think we do need to have a broader conversation. I do think there's a combination of things going on here. So he's a part of a group that has historically been subjected to certain treatment within this country, and has been guilted to just forgive that country for what it's done, even though there's not been reconciliation. So that's going to extend to even moments like this. So I think there's that one thing, and then the fact he's in a Christian environment. So those two things are weighing heavily upon this, and I don't want to get on him too much. I just have to see it for what it is, looking from the outside in.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying. His beliefs about religion definitely impact his decision making. Definitely here, and what you say about black people historically being the ones to forgive, even when we're talking about the most atrocious types of actions. We saw it here in South Carolina, in Charleston, with Dylan Roof when he killed 9 churchgoers, and immediately in his first court hearing, the families were immediately forgiving of him. It's a strange. I mean, it definitely is a strange thing. I can understand that people feel like they don't want to live with that hate. They don't want to hate anybody, especially people that, you know, believe in God and believe in religion, Christianity, whatever. You know, you don't want to take hate with you. I totally understand that, but for me, it's an entirely different thing to immediately want to just wipe away the sins of the person, to extend love to that person. I understand him saying, you know, give your life to Christ. Again, he's a religious guy. I understand that. To say that I love you as a person is very weird for me to hear, because I don't understand how he could know her as a person. And what he does know of her is that she killed his brother. He knows that there have been some definitely questionable texts that she has exchanged with other people that can be viewed as racist. So I don't understand what he knows about her to love her as a person. I also believe that in this particular instance, when you forgive somebody given these circumstances, a police officer, who was a police officer at the time, who killed a man. We have seen too many of these situations where these offenders, these murderers, have gone free. So I think what this does is it's a disservice to the movement to see these officers actually held accountable for their actions, because the next time maybe a jury feels like there is something that is salvageable about this officer that's on trial. Something, I mean, we should, I guess, express compassion, more compassion to this officer if they, I don't know, if they really show like they're hurting or something like that. I don't know. What I do know is that to forgive this particular individual, Amber Guyger, I think two things would have to take place. One, you would have to wholeheartedly believe her story. You would have to believe that everything that she did upon coming to Botham Jean's door was accidental. Every single accidental step that she took was truly an accident. But then secondly, you would have to say that her shooting Botham Jean as well was, I guess, understandable.
What did
and
she?
I don't understand that.
What did she not do after she shot Botham Jean? What did she not do? Which is kind of, I think, key in this story.
Life-saving measures?
She didn't.
Yeah.
You know,
she said that she tried to with one hand, but the phone was in her other hand. That's why she couldn't do it. As if we live in a world where a speakerphone is not a thing.
Or as if we live in a world where someone could set aside trying to cover up for what they did and put down the phone and focus all their attention on the person that's losing their life. Sorry, the person that you shot. That's life is slowly slipping away from them. Yeah, she didn't do that. What she did was she got on the phone with colleagues and her boy toy because she was panicking about what she just did. And the first thing that came to her mind, based on the video we saw and we heard of her, was the fact that she was going to lose her job.
Yep.
She was more concerned with that.
Yep.
So I do think maybe his belief system and the belief system he grew up in is kind of clouding how he is definitely seeing the situation. And what he's saying is the best for her, right, is kind of subjective based on that belief system he grew up in. Mm-hmm. Because maybe jail and the maximum sentence is the best for her. And it is possible for her to both accept Christ into her life and accept Jesus as her Savior and take her ass to jail. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do that. They can do both. There needs to be punitive punishment. We're on Earth here.
That's true.
We're on planet Earth where people face punishment for the things that they do. And while they're facing punishment, when they're incarcerated, they can come to Christ if they want to.
Right.
She can do both.
But you still have to be punished. Like, again, for him to call for, I don't even want to see her go to jail, then what are you saying? You're just saying that because she expressed sorrow, then everything is good here. It's just nonsense. And the larger argument that you were talking about too, talking about how black people have customarily, gone this route and just have forgiven white people, especially for their crimes or whatever. And it's often asked of them as well too. Are you going to forgive them? Do you forgive them? It's always asked them like it's expected.
So what does that tell you?
It seems as though when it is a white person that has done something to a black person and that black person is asked or that black person does say, yeah, I forgive him, it seems as though the effort is just to wipe it away. As though we don't really want to talk about this further than right now. So we don't want this to actually extend into broader conversations or anything like that. We don't want this to mean more than what it is.
So who does that benefit?
Not black people.
So it doesn't benefit black people. That it benefits the larger apparatus that abuses people, abuses black people. It seems like that's by design. It seems like that's by design because it seems to always come up when it comes to situations like this. Mm-hmm. And this is a institutional situation too, involving a police officer. And you brought up the texts and her messages that go along with this story. And I don't think you can talk about this situation involving Amber Guyger walking inside another man's apartment and killing him, a black man, without talking about those other things. Mm-hmm. So this situation, you can't talk about what she did that night in isolation.
Right.
Because there's other things that may point to who she is. Like some social media posts and social media comments she made. Specifically, on MLK Day. Not any other day. This was specifically on MLK Day. And she was joking because she was assigned to like the parade.
Her another officer.
Or another officer. And she was like, when does this end, LOL?
No. Well, somebody else said.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Somebody else said, when does this end, LOL? And it says, when MLK is dead. Oh, wait.
That's what
her response was to when officer said, when does this end, LOL? She said, when MLK is dead. Oh, wait. And there was another situation where her and some other officers were determining when they would administer pepper spray or when there was a good time to administer some pepper spray. And she pretty much said, almost just saying just spray it in their general area, not caring who they hit. You know what I'm saying? So she was just very
cavalier about that.
About, harming people that may not need to. She didn't care. She just didn't seem to care about the lives or the well-being of other people. And she also made some comment underneath some other video, a Minion character in Despicable Me. And she said something about no one ever thanks me for having the patience not to kill them.
So again, Brant Jean saying that I love you as a person. Who do you love? What do you love? I understand that you love all people. Again, religion, Christianity, yeah, I get it. You love all people, yes. But when we're talking about this particular situation and you combine your love for this person and saying that they should not see inside of a prison for 1 minute and you want to give them a hug as though I personally don't believe her story. I don't believe that she made all these several mistakes. It just doesn't register for me. I know the defense, particularly the red doormat. They said that she was carrying her equipment in a way to where, I guess if she was carrying it right here and, there were bags or at least one big bag, it may have obscured the red mat. But there is a walk up to the door and she has eyes.
So it's not like she's walking like this.
Yeah, it's like, come on, at some point you would have seen that red mat. I just don't buy the whole story. But again, if you're telling me that it's purely accidental, all the mistakes that she made, okay, all the steps that she took to get in front of that door, if you're saying it's purely accidental and you believe that, okay, cool. But was it accidental that she pulled the trigger and killed Botham Jean when he posed no threat to her? He wasn't right up on her. He did not have a weapon on him. It wasn't dark. The whole bit about how she just saw a silhouette when there was light coming in from the corridor, a TV was on.
What was the first thing you mentioned?
The light coming from the corridor.
Okay, so
very brightly lit.
Light from the corridor, and you could see that light and how much light was being emitted from the corridor if you saw the footage from the body cams from the responding officers. So yeah, there was a lot of light. There's no way she couldn't make out what was in there. So.
She could have made another choice. She could, and that's my contention. Okay, she could have made another choice than to shoot Botham Jean dead. So again, you can believe that every step that she took to get to that door was accidental, but she pulled that trigger as a decision. That was a decision all on her own. And that's not something that I'm just ready to just say, okay, yeah, big hugs. I don't. Also, Botham Jean's father, later on that night, yesterday, said he wanted to be Amber Guyger's friend. It's disgusting, man. Seriously, it's disgusting to a lot of people.
Yeah, and again, this is without, judging the family. Again, without judging the family, this is just a part of a broader conversation.
It is.
So this is not judging the family. It's just kind of pointing out that they may be still under the influence of this.
Very emotional.
And it is a very emotional situation.
You add religion on that.
You have religion on that. And so they're still up under that umbrella, of, I would say, unhealed trauma that black people have gone through. And they may not be aware of it. So that's why I don't want to get on them too much. But, I think talking about Amber Guyger's sentence in general is kind of limiting. But think about if it was the other way around. You see what I'm saying? It's not just the sentence that I have a problem with, but it's that her sentence was too short relative to, let's say, what her victim would get.
Of course.
If the roles were reversed. We know that. So
that's why it doesn't appear quite like justice.
yeah, so exactly. So if we're talking about justice and we're talking about real reform, that would entail equitably administered punishment, which we don't have here, and we don't have in a broader sense as well. So
that's why I believe that these actions do a disservice to the movement for criminal justice reform. Again, it isn't so often that a police officer that murders somebody makes it to trial. It's not very often. So I just don't want to see us, like, her getting a guilty verdict. I think that's progress. I don't want us to take any steps back. I don't want people to feel like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. The family is forgiving her. These officers do need some more sympathy. We need to be more compassionate and more empathetic to them. And when they come up for a next case, when they have killed somebody, again, if they show that they are, mourning the loss, maybe we don't convict them next time. We're not there yet. We're not there yet where we have reached justice enough times to where it is the norm in our criminal justice system.
And it's that same system offering the same type of forgiveness the other way around.
No, it's not. So there's another aspect of this that I want to touch on too, and that's dealing with the judge, Judge Tammy Kemp. So after the sentence was read by the judge, and after Brandt John hugged Amber Guyger, but before Amber Guyger made her way out of the courtroom, Judge Kemp made her way down to Amber Guyger. So we have some video we want to show you of that.
That act is truly, again, something I think we could all learn from.
It was a healing moment.
I hope it has that effect. I really do. Because I think he embraced the idea and the concept.
Well, now the judge is talking to Amber. Oh my God, the judge is down there talking to Amber. I just don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. What do you think's happening right now?
I have no idea, quite honestly. I've never seen anything like this.
This is extraordinary. I feel like we're watching something that I've never seen before. I mean, this moment, the hug between Amber Guyger and Botham Jean's brother, and now the judge. It sounded like maybe she was reading a Bible scripture or witnessing somehow. I mean, it's just oh my God, now the judge is hugging Amber Guyger. Okay, this is, I'm starting to lose it again.
Well, and I think that the emotional aspects of his case, and again, without question, it's a tragedy all the way around. The emotional aspects of his case have led to the judge to do something that's very unusual, to have direct attempts to communicate with the family of the victim and the defendant herself on the record. And what I can only suppose is an attempt to try to start some healing for these people.
I find the judge's actions repugnant, utterly disrespectful and inappropriate. Just like the commentators that were speaking throughout, I found myself asking the same question. I don't think I've ever seen this before. Like, I think I would remember seeing something like this. A judge making it their way down to the defendant that has just been convicted and sentenced and embracing them. And if you couldn't tell what was going on too, she brought her personal Bible there and she was praying with her. And she gave her her Bible as well. So I know I would remember if I saw anything like this before. I've never seen anything like this before. And it wasn't just that she provided this comfort to this defendant, this convicted murderer. She also embraced her, not just once with a hug. You only saw once, but then a little bit later, she also embraced her a second time for a hug before Amber Guyger made her way out of the courtroom. Many people are disgusted with these actions. I'm wondering if this judge, Tammy Kemp, has ever done anything like this before in her life.
Did you hear the commentary over that footage that was being offered? They seemed shocked too.
Yeah.
And they were trying to do their best to, reconcile what was going on in the form of commentary, because it was live. So they had to come up with something. So I know it was hard for them too. And they were trying to throw things out there. One of the things that they did throw out there was, it's an emotional situation. I'm like, most situations that involve murder are emotional.
And defendants, when they're convicted?
Exactly. This is not a new
They're usually emotional.
They're usually emotional.
Yeah.
The family is emotional. The defendant is emotional. Everybody's emotional. So this is not something that is special. Now, I do think what's special is what happened, which is something that was unusual, the circumstances, but everything else surrounding it, as far as the feelings, the emotions, everything surrounding the trial is not new. So why is all of this sympathy being extended to Amber Guyger as if she is a victim by the judge, no less? And and also the bailiff later on came and brushed this chick's hair. Yeah. This was just all weird. Like, and like you said, has she ever done something like this before to a defendant that was convicted of murder? Convicted of murder in that particular circumstance, involving that involved someone showing a lack of sympathy to the person they shot, because she didn't give Botham Jean life-saving medical medical attention. So and then the other stuff about the things she said on social media and her text. So it's just weird to me.
That she's getting all of this.
And here's the thing. I was like, okay, all right, Judge Kemp, you're setting an interesting precedent now. Now I'm going to expect this at least 25% of the time. I'm going to be generous. I'm going to be generous and say I'm going to expect the same kind of condolences and sympathy 25% of the time now, in cases involving someone being murdered. To me, it doesn't make any sense. But I did find out that the Dallas Police Officers Association did support her. They kind of endorsed her. It was on Facebook, Twitter, because the judges get appointed and whatnot, and the Dallas Police Officers Association was kind of championing her being a judge. So she has support from the police department. So maybe some of that came out.
Religion, right?
Religion.
I can understand. There are many people who are just devout. They're highly religious. I guess they say it guides their life. Some people more than others. Whatever. If that's the judge's attitude, her ideology, her belief system, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with people who personally believe in religion. Cool. Do whatever makes you feel whole as a human being. That's totally fine. Her role as a judge, though, is to not come off or from behind that bench and provide comfort to the defendant. If anybody is to receive some kind of support, I would think it would be the family that has experienced the loss, not the defendant. I understand that this was a very
highly publicized.
Yeah, but kind of rare type of situation where you have the brother that's on the stand and he hugs the defendant. I agree that that's rare. So maybe you feel that the family is, just totally forgiven and this and that, but it's still not your role as a judge to come down and just and greet that defendant with all of this love and all the support and to give her your Bible, and that is completely inappropriate. I don't see how she would think that this was the right course of action whatsoever. She's getting a lot of blowback for this, no doubt. People want to see her off of that bench. People do not believe that she can fulfill her job responsibilities any longer. This was this was disgusting. I can't. I don't know that I can say another word. Like I said, it was disgusting. It just left such a bad taste in your mouth. I don't remember a defendant. If this had been a kid, you know what I'm saying? If this was juvenile court, if this was a situation where somebody's life was not so viciously ended, and then you did see remorse from somebody, and maybe somebody, there's some kind of evidence that they're trying to get their life back on the right track, maybe, it would still be extraordinary. I mean, it'd still be extraordinary. I would have never seen it before, but I'd be like, well, okay, all right. But we're talking about a man's life that was ended, that wasn't given a second chance by this defendant. And you come down and you provide all this comfort, and it's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. She should be criticized for it. So
you think she should lose her job though? I don't know about that. I don't know about losing her job, because I don't think that's going to deal with the larger issue. I don't think you can point to something within that interaction that would make her losing her job kind of a legitimate move. But like you said,
I can understand people calling for it though, because what's in her mind throughout this trial? Like if she is, like you just brought up with her connections to the Dallas Police Association, if that is a real connection of hers, which like you said, you found that connection, then that speaks to maybe some very obvious bias as well. So is that leading her?
So it's like she thinks
while she is in her role as a judge?
Yeah. So you think that increases the chances, or increases the likelihood that her mind tends to move in the direction of sympathy for a police officer?
Yeah. And she might make moves to protect them in some way, shape, or form. Again, at the very least, it's completely inappropriate and a horrible, horrible look. If you're going to provide comfort to any side, why don't you walk your behind over to the family of the victim, not this defendant that is, she is deservedly going to prison. She deserves to go to prison. She ended a man's life. Let her serve her sentence. If you feel that she, throughout the course of this trial, if you really do believe in her enough, show up at the damn parole hearing in 5 years. Do that. Write a letter or something like that. But at the end of the trial that you just presided over, you're going to go over there.
It's a bad look. It's a bad look.
All right.
Move on to the meat.
Move on to the meat. All right. A lot of people disgusted by that, though. A lot of people disgusted.
Rightfully so, man. Like, again, if you watch the whole entire thing and how it played out, it's to me, it's hard to stomach, and it's confusing. And those people who were offering commentary over that footage, those sounded like white people.
Yeah, they did.
And they were like,
wow, this is.
So they definitely don't come with the same internalized mindset that most black people come with. That most, so
it's a disservice. I think that it's a disservice, man. I don't think it's gonna lead anywhere good. I don't think so. All right. Anyway, all right. Trump, Ukraine. Trump, Ukraine, and the Bidens.
You gonna say it again? Trump, Ukraine. Trump, Ukraine.
And the Bidens, Joe and Hunter. All right. So we've been talking about this for several days now, as you know, the whole country has really been discussing too, or at least listening to coverage about the latest developments. So let's go to Wednesday. Okay, this was just yesterday. On Wednesday, President Trump was with the Finnish president. It was for a joint, a joint press conference. And President Trump took a question from a Reuters reporter named Jeff Mason. So Jeff Mason asked President Trump a very, very simple question. It was basic as basic gets, but for some reason Trump did not have the ability to answer. So you'll understand why in just a second.
Mr. President, can you just make clear right here, what do you or what did you want President Zelensky to do with regard to Joe and Hunter Biden?
If you look at what he said, okay, and he brought it up. I think he brought up the name Rudy Giuliani. What I want is the following, and I've said this loud and clear. We have our ambassadors here. We have Mike Pence here. Why are we the only ones that give the big money to the Ukraine? We give money to Ukraine, and it's bothered me from day one, and you have plenty of people just here. I say, how come it's always the United States that gets ripped? Frankly, Ukraine, we want to help them. And I do like the new president. You know why I like him? Because he was honest. Because he said there was no pressure at all exerted on me, meaning him, by the President of the United States. He said it. By the way, that one sentence should stop this.
What about Mr. Biden? What did you want about Biden? What did you want him to look into on Biden?
Look, Biden and his son are stone cold crooked. And you know it. His son walks out with millions of dollars. The kid knows nothing. You know it, and so do we. Go ahead, ask a question.
But the question, sir, was what did you want President Zelensky to do about Vice President Biden and his son Hunter?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it was just a follow-up of what I just asked you, sir.
Listen, you ready? We have the President of Finland. Ask him a question.
I have one for him. I just wanted to follow up on the one that I asked you, which was,
Did you hear
what
me?
did you want
Did you
him
hear
to
me?
Yes,
Ask
sir.
him a question.
I will, but
I've given you a long answer. Ask this gentleman a question. Don't be rude.
No, sir, I don't want to be rude. I just wanted you to have a chance to answer the question that I asked
I've
you.
answered everything. It's a whole hoax. And you know who's playing into the hoax? People like you and the fake news media that we have in this country. And I say in many cases, the corrupt media, because you're corrupt. Much of the media in this country is not just fake, it's corrupt. And you have some very fine people, too. Great journalists, great reporters. But to a large extent, it's corrupt and it's fake. Ask the President of Finland a question, please.
Okay, I'll move on now. Mr. President.
Oh, boy. That is Trump at his finest.
Or, yeah, exactly. His finest, but also off the cuff and at his worst, actually.
Oh, gosh, man.
First off, Trump is the one who issued his narrative, what he thinks we should pay attention to. He made the claim.
Which is what?
That Biden and his son are stone cold crooked.
That's what he said.
And you know it.
Stone cold crooked.
His son walks out with millions of dollars. The kid knows nothing. You know it. And so do we. So, again, that doesn't explain, like, what you actually wanted to take place. What did you want the president of Ukraine to do exactly? Meaning, how did you want the president, I guess, to initiate some kind of investigation? And what did you want him to look at? What specifically was illegal about it? Like, he could have given any kind of answer, because he is the one who said Biden and his son are stone cold corrupt. He said that. So what he did was he opened up the door for a follow-up question, because one, he didn't answer the question, and then two, all he did was like levy accusations. And so the reasonable follow-up question was, what did you want President Zelensky to do about Biden and his son Hunter? And what Trump did is he did what Dave Chappelle did in that skit where he knocks over the pitcher of water and gets up and runs.
Hell yeah.
And fake, hoax, corrupt. Like he just lashed out at this guy for asking a basic question. And he tried to get out of it by deflecting towards the president of Finland. Like, ask him a question. Ask him a question.
Yo, he became a school teacher. Yo, I told you, ask him a question, not me.
Don't ask me a question.
Hold on, you talking to me? No, I ask him a question. This is one of those moments where that kind of phrase, the emperor has no clothes, that comes into like my head right here, because you see exactly what Trump is in this moment. He's nothing, because he can't answer a simple question. What he does instead, like you said, is just deflect. He talks about, we want to help Ukraine, Ukraine's your ally. Nobody helps Ukraine. The, European Union doesn't help them. Nobody helps them.
That doesn't.
We want to help them. They need help. Okay, well, what did you want President Zelensky to do about the Bidens?
It's already out in the open now.
Biden and his son are stone cold crooked. Stone cold crooked, and this. Again, Mr. President, what did you want President Zelensky to do about the Bidens? You keep buying into this fake stuff. This is a whole
hoax.
A hoax. The media, they're fake. You know what? And the media is corrupt. Now ask him a question.
I was like, what was that about?
That has nothing to do with again, like you said, you're the one that introduced the narrative, and we saw that narrative in the summary of the phone call too. So the narrative is that Biden and his son are crooked, corrupt, whatever. They were engaged in dirty dealings in the Ukraine. Okay?
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Whether people believe that or not, or whether the reporter believes that or not, or the journalist believes that or not, it doesn't matter.
Let's accept it as fact.
Let's accept it as fact.
Okay.
Like, you have the floor as president to lay out your case. The cat's already out of the bag.
Yep.
The cat's already out of the bag. So you can't put it back in.
Right.
So
what did you want?
What did you want?
Zelensky to do about
I actually really want to hear this, even though I think that this whole thing is a charade and a deflection tactic by Trump and Trump administration. I still would like to hear from Trump exactly what he would want President Zelensky to do, and how he would want President Zelensky to work with his own Justice Department. That would have actually been perfect. Like, hey man, lay out your case. You know what else would have been a good answer? I respectfully declined to answer that question because we're in the midst of trying to set up some sort of process to where we can deal with this situation with Hunter Biden. Like, I can't talk about it right now. Like, he could have said that. He actually could have said that.
But then see, the follow-up question would have been, why Rudy Giuliani? Again, we've talked about this. There were proper channels to go through if you actually think that the Bidens are dirty and corrupt and they actually did something worth going after criminally. There are channels that you go after, proper channels that you go through to actually go through this investigation and find out exactly what happened and possibly charge them with whatever crimes that they committed. Cool. But you involved your personal attorney, which means that that's not a proper channel. That means that this is not governmental business. This means that is your personal business. That's why he can't answer the question. He can't answer the question.
But again, Trump loves having the mic. He doesn't voluntarily pass the mic over to anybody.
Trump passing the mic?
Trump passing the mic? Like, first of all, that's out of character.
He wants to shine, man.
So, exactly, he wants to shine. So if it's out of character, there's a reason for it. But I'm just amazed at how he lashed out. But I'm not amazed at the same time because I think he knows he is incapable of constructing a sentence that includes a well-constructed, I guess, plot and narrative with a beginning, middle, and an end. And he had an opportunity to do that. This is not the only time he had an opportunity to do that. But he has had many opportunities to do that. To be like, hey, this is my case, and this is why I went to President Zelensky. I'm going to lay it out for you, and this is exactly what happened. I'm going to point out something that's not ambiguous. I'll point to a specific timeline and specific activities that point to specific criminal activity that you cannot question. And this is why I did what I did. He has not been able to do that, and I think he can't. Well, it's not that he can't do it. It's that he's not even good enough to fabricate something like that. He is not, let's say, he does not have enough mental dexterity to even fabricate a narrative with a beginning, middle, and an end where everyone can understand and he can get his point across. So what he does is he's self-conscious about that. So when he gets a question from Jeff Mason, he lashes out at Jeff Mason because he knows it's a legitimate question, but it's something he cannot answer. And this is what happens when you don't have daily press conferences. He cut that off.
Yeah, he did.
This is what happens. So guess what? All the responsibility to answer questions. I know this wasn't a press conference, but.
That was a press conference.
Well, not like a White House press conference.
No, okay. Not a daily briefing. Right?
Daily briefing. But not having daily briefings builds up and builds up. So it puts everything on Trump's shoulders in situations like this. So the White House brought this upon themselves. Trump brought this upon himself. Now, at least with Sean Spicer, was Anthony Scaramucci? Was his name Anthony?
No.
What's his name? What's his first name?
Is it Anthony? Is it Anthony? I can't.
Anyway, or Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You know, they seemed comfortable with lying. They were articulate with lying. You can tell, you can see right through it, but at least they seem comfortable with it. Trump doesn't seem comfortable with lying, and he can't lie. So in situations like this, he has no choice but to lash out because he knows he's not capable of giving an answer that makes sense. So
also on Wednesday, President Trump tweeted a meme with music from Nickelback, the song Photograph. So this was what he tweeted. This is what it looks like. You can't see it anymore because it has been taken off of Twitter because Nickelback does not want to be associated with this mess whatsoever. And again, he was using their music, so not just him. It was, like I said, it was making the rounds in conservative media. But basically, what the meme was about was a photograph of Joe Biden, his son Hunter Biden, at a golf course with a man named Devin Archer, who did serve on the Ukrainian natural gas board that Hunter Biden served on as well. So this is a picture. This is the picture right here. So you see Hunter Biden to the far right, Joe Biden right next to him. I don't know who the guy is right next to Joe Biden, but Devin Archer is the one to the far left. And so again, this has been making its rounds for the last several days in conservative media. And when they played this meme, it was like a video, but when they played this video, Devin Archer was labeled as a Ukrainian gas exec. Okay? A Ukrainian gas exec, which I guess technically is true. But so was Hunter Biden. It would say
they served on the same board. They were friends before they got their jobs, or before they were members on the board.
They were also
Ukrainian gas company.
business partners for a very long time.
Yeah, they kind of got this job at the same time.
In 2014.
Yeah.
And so I believe this picture was taken before
that.
They got the jobs on the board. So they've had a prior relationship before this. Now, this picture is to convince people that Joe Biden did actually know something about Hunter Biden's business, because they have been harping on this, this thing that Joe Biden said, in which he said, him and his son do not discuss his son's business. He doesn't know anything about his business in Ukraine. So they're using this picture to say, look at you. You're playing golf with the Ukrainian gas exec? Yeah, right. Tell me you don't know Hunter Biden's business. And of course, Rudy Giuliani is one of the people that, piled on here. And so this is what Rudy Giuliani had to say about it. Could be breaking news. I'm sorry I have to do this. I'm sorry I have to do it this way, but Dem cover-up press will not ask Biden who is guy in picture. One person says he is a Burisma board member. If true, Biden's lie that he never discussed son's foreign business becomes evidence of guilt. Again, they had a prior relationship. They had a business relationship. They look like they had a friendly relationship, and they're playing golf. Now, Joe Biden is there, but you tell me because two guys that had a prior relationship, two serving on a board, are playing golf with one of their fathers, that means that they're discussing their future business?
But
in a natural gas company?
But let's just run with that narrative that Giuliani is trying to push. Okay, what if Biden lied about like whether he talked at all with Hunter Biden about his job at the natural gas company? What specific criminal behavior does that point to? It doesn't.
So this is more deflection.
No, this is definitely more deflection.
So, excuse me. So I kind of want to stay on this for a second, but go somewhere else, because again, the strategy by conservatives and Republicans are to point to Joe Biden and how he did something dirty and how his son has been doing something dirty. And specifically Joe Biden, his dirtiness is about firing the prosecutor, Victor Shokin. That's what this is about on Joe Biden's end. Yeah, they point to Hunter Biden earning that money, $50,000 a month, this and that. But really, it's about Joe Biden. Hey, he pressured the Ukraine to fire this prosecutor that was trying to do the right thing. Okay, we know that to be false because it wasn't just Joe Biden that was trying to get him fired. And it wasn't something that he was doing unilaterally. No, he had the United States behind him, of course. He's a vice president, not a president, so he definitely didn't do this unilaterally in the United States. But there were also just a whole bunch of other West countries that wanted him gone as well, the prosecutor. Not only those other countries in the West, but people in the Ukraine as well. The Ukrainian legislature.
Anti-corruption activists.
Yes.
And this particular prosecutor, Shokin, at the time was not, I will repeat, was not prosecuting the Ukrainian natural gas company.
Right.
He was, let's say, I would say this particular prosecutor was dragging his feet, but that wouldn't be an accurate characterization. He wasn't even.
Yeah, they say it's dormant. It was dormant.
It was dormant.
It
actually started, and then it just kind of like.
It just stopped.
It stopped.
Right. So again, laying that foundation, okay, there was a letter back in 2016 that was signed in the Senate to push for. It was a bipartisan letter. It was signed to push for reforms in the Ukraine's Prosecutor General's office and judiciary. Now, again, we've talked about how Biden is accused of improperly moving to oust the Prosecutor General, Victor Shokin. So, the GOP senators who signed this letter were Senators Mark Kirk, Rob Portman, and Ron Johnson. Now, the legislature in Ukraine voted to oust Victor Shokin 1 month after this letter was signed. 1 month. 1 month after this letter was signed. So it looks like it wasn't just Joe Biden, Barack Obama, the United States, the West, the Ukrainian legislature.
International Monetary Fund.
It looks like it was GOP senators as well that wanted Victor Shokin gone. They wanted reform in the Prosecutor General's office.
No, man. No, it was, that's what it looks like. Biden must have had something on these GOP representatives.
But
he must have had something on them.
One of the senators are not a senator anymore, Mark Kirk. All right, so he's no longer in the Senate. But the other two are still in the Senate. And there's another thing. So Ron Johnson, GOP senator, again, that signed that 2016 letter, Senator Johnson just last week signed a letter with Senator Chuck Grassley addressed to Attorney General William Barr asking him to investigate the Biden's actions with regard to Ukraine. So here we have a senator, a GOP senator, that in 2016 said, oh, there's corruption there in the prosecutor general's office in the Ukraine.
And we need to get this guy out.
We need to get this guy out. But now in 2019, since there's all this criticism being, just it's right on the front doorstep of our president, Donald Trump. And since I'm a GOP senator, I have to do things to protect him. Oh, you know what? I'm going to write a letter that says that we have to investigate Biden's actions, which I
approved of. I approved of, and
yes.
I supported.
Oh, my gosh. And of course, I don't believe as of yet that Ron Johnson has spoke on the matter.
Of course not.
The contradiction,
of
the
course
hypocrisy.
Not.
I don't think he has responded for it.
And actually, that picture being shared and Giuliani sharing that picture actually makes them look worse. Let me tell you why. Because you're sharing a picture of somebody else who you acknowledge was an executive or you acknowledge was on that board.
Yeah.
You're bringing attention to. Mm-hmm. And Biden's son was not the only person on that board. So if they really were focused on corruption and taking care of corruption in Ukraine, why just focus on Biden's son? Because everybody was getting paid on that board.
Yeah. And Biden wasn't even there.
And he wasn't even there when the
investigation
started. So why does it start with Hunter Biden? Even though, like we said, Hunter Biden wasn't even there when the investigation started. And there were other members of that board. Now, what I interpret Trump's statement about Biden and his son being stone cold crooked and his son walks out with millions of dollars, he's probably talking about millions of dollars he had invested as a board member working for that company, which is quite normal. That's probably what he's talking about. So yeah, he thinks that's some sort of like payoff or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what if it is?
Payoff of what?
I don't know.
And that's the thing. Like, he had an opportunity to explain that, and he hasn't done a good job of doing so. And he had the mic, and what did he do? He just tried to ask him a question. No, don't ask me a question. I'm like, dude, you have your chance right now.
Again, if there was something here, you know what? And actually, look, this story is not new because Rudy Giuliani, his actions go back to what was this April, May? When he was trying to get this information, through Ukraine and trying to meet with people and trying to give this information to the State Department. And I mean, this is not new. The only reason why we are discussing it right now is because that effort failed months ago. It ended up doing nothing whatsoever because there was nothing there. Rudy Giuliani really didn't have anything whatsoever. But the only reason why we're talking about it now is because Trump asked for a personal favor to help his reelection bid. That's why we're talking about it. So think what you want about Joe Biden. We certainly have our beliefs about Joe Biden. And I don't believe he's a good candidate for president. I don't believe he should be the Democratic nominee. But this is not an issue that I'm talking about. This is not an issue where I'm going to be like, well, this is one of those issues where this is why Joe Biden should. No.
No. I think I know what it is.
This is all about Trump.
I think I know what it is because the same thing applies to Hillary Clinton too. I think that some people feel that they have an obligation to believe anything or any negative story, anything that may negatively impact a politician that they despise. It seems like they feel that they have an obligation to wholeheartedly buy into the narrative, because it's like, if I don't believe that he's guilty of this, that must mean I have to accept that he's not guilty of anything or that he's a good politician. I was like, we don't have to do that. We can still maintain our criticism of Joe Biden or any other politician without always knee-jerkingly assuming and speculating irresponsibly about their guilt or innocence involving a particular situation. In this particular situation, it doesn't look like there's any criminality. Now, if you want to say that there was some favoritism being shown, if he used unethical behavior, I wouldn't even call it nepotism because Joe Biden didn't work. He wasn't an executive or CEO for this Ukrainian natural gas company, so he didn't really have any connection. So it wasn't nepotism. It was just someone who has an elite status in the world using that status to get their son a position that where he's making a lot of money, $50,000 a month, and he benefited from, I guess, investing in that same company. If you can point to actual criminality, that's fine, but we can't. We can talk about it in a different context, is which I kind of just suggested, laid out. But criminality, I don't think we can go there. And me not going there doesn't mean I let him off the hook for every other thing. And you shouldn't feel that way either. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you can look. If you want to, we already harbor ill feelings about Joe Biden without this information. Again, we don't believe that it was appropriate for Hunter Biden to be earning that much money. I would say it doesn't look like it's appropriate. We don't know what role he served in that company. What was his purpose on that board? What he actually did. It looks like it's very
cushy job. It's
Yes.
just a cushy job where he didn't do much, but he was just getting paid.
Yeah, and maybe Joe Biden had something to do with it. Look, this would just be another one that's like, well, look, Joe Biden's a capitalist. Obviously, his son is a capitalist. We don't support this type of political figure. I don't think he is a good political candidate. Okay, but where else do you want to go here? So many people, and I would have to include Terabrate, that is in the chat section saying these things again. So many people want to highlight Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's activities. Cool. You can say how corrupt and inappropriate and unethical their behavior is all day. I wouldn't say anything about it. I'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. But the conversation here
It's
that
not
you're
about
trying to
that.
deflect from is
A criminal
President
investigation.
Trump's action.
Again, President Trump's actions and him trying to, I guess, extort another leader, hold money, a bag of money over this leader's head
Yes.
to investigate Hunter Biden, even when prosecutors said that there was nothing there. So this has already been reconciled. So Trump is asking, is he really asking the president to engage in a legitimate investigation, or is he just asking the Ukrainian president to drum something up for him? Because it doesn't make any sense. Like I said, it's already been reconciled in court, and these prosecutors have looked into it and they said there was nothing that was askew with Hunter Biden specifically. Now, of course, the company, yes, the company was engaged in some improprieties, and that was proven, but there was no proof that Hunter Biden was like in the midst of all that. He was calling shots and he was benefiting and he was like making decisions in regard to this corruption. There was no evidence there. It's already been settled. So why is Trump engaged with the president of Ukraine like this? And why is he sending his personal attorney to deal with this situation? Oh, a personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, who has investments in Ukraine, who has financial investments in Ukraine. Like, come on, yo. Like,
So
he's not
what
just
also aids that conversation, though, is Kurt Volker. So Kurt Volker, of course, now he's the former U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine. He resigned last week, abruptly. Very
coincidental.
abruptly. He was named in the whistleblower complaint. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But he did meet with House investigators today on Thursday. And he told them, reportedly, that he had warned Rudy Giuliani, President Trump's personal attorney, that his Ukrainian sources alleging Biden corruption were not credible. So this is according to the Washington Post. Volker also reportedly testified that he warned Ukrainian officials not to involve themselves in United States elections or United States politics, because doing so could be viewed as interfering in our elections, which again would be illegal.
And then destroying the diplomacy that was, I guess, built up over the last 8 years.
Right. Again, this stuff Rudy Giuliani had been trying to make moves. I'm talking about months ago.
Actually,
it didn't work. It didn't do anything.
That was the official moves.
Yes.
But he has had dealings in Ukraine for the past decade. So he has a personal interest in this, and not just he's doing the work for Donald Trump. He's doing work for himself. He has a personal vested interest in getting involved in Ukraine and creating enemies out of his political rivals, because he's going to benefit.
So let's stay with Thursday. On Thursday, President Trump doubled down on his insistence that a foreign country investigate the Bidens. Now he wants another foreign country to investigate the Bidens. He wants China to do it now. So we have some video from his question and answer session with some reporters.
Mr. President, what exactly did you hope Zelensky would do about the Bidens after your phone call? Exactly. Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. They should investigate the Bidens, because how does a company that's newly formed, and all these companies, if you look at, and by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens. Because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine. So I would say that President Zelensky, if it were me, I would recommend that they start an investigation into the Bidens, because nobody has any doubt that they weren't crooked. That was a crooked deal, 100%. He had no knowledge of energy, didn't know the first thing about it. All of a sudden he's getting $50,000 a month, plus a lot of other things. Nobody has any doubt. And they got rid of a prosecutor who was a very tough prosecutor. They got rid of him. Now they're trying to make it the opposite way, but they got rid. So if I were the president, I would certainly recommend that.
He's not issuing recommendations. Like that's the same question he was asked at the joint press conference. Mm-hmm. He didn't give any recommendations. All he had was just these very loose accusations. And I say loose because they were all over the place. He was just jumping all over the place. And again, he had another opportunity to explain concisely what exactly he was talking about. And all he had was just a bunch of just stuff he just threw out there that didn't really have like any kind of form to it. And
it's amazing that Trump would call for another investigation into his political opponents, openly and publicly this time. It's amazing. The first time is going really well. I mean, the results of doing that on the sly, really, and then trying to lock it up in secret, that went over really well. And that's why there's an impeachment inquiry now. That's going really well. But now, do it just publicly. And so if you do it publicly, you know, public corruption is, I guess that can be stomached better. You know, people won't call you out for doing it in public, in front of everybody's eyes. It's not illegal when you do it that way.
But the whole Ukrainian thing still hasn't been reconciled yet. So why would he bring China up? Why do you think he would bring China up?
Well, there's more to that. We have another video. There's more to that. But this is the effort, okay? This is the whole strategy behind how Trump is planning to get out of this. He wants people to be offended by Hunter Biden's salary. The more you're offended by Hunter Biden's salary, I guess the more you don't pay attention to Trump's actions.
No. That's exactly what. That's the
strategy.
Doing. That's the strategy.
Earning $50,000 a month. Obviously, he didn't have any experience.
Didn't he claim it was corruption. Like a payoff too? We know what that is. That's a payoff. Payoff for what? If he has an idea of like some sort of nefarious reason, if he has an idea or there was a nefarious reason why he was getting paid and he's pointing to something specific, I'd be like, okay then, you might have something there. But he's not. He's just saying that, look at how much he got paid. Okay.
We can, the way it looks improper, yeah, we can be disgusted by it. Okay, cool. We're disgusted. Thank you. You guys disgusted. Because really, again, nobody was really talking about this. This was not an issue. Hunter Biden began sitting on that board in 2014. You heard this in national conversation? No. Joe Biden began his bid for the White House. What was that? Was that May? Or April?
April 25th.
It was April.
And then,
okay.
And then 6 days later, on the 1st, Rudy Giuliani made an official trip to Ukraine.
Okay.
6 days later.
So again, Joe Biden has been campaigning for quite a while. I haven't heard anybody really talk about this in any capacity whatsoever. But now that Trump is guilty of obviously trying to solicit foreign interference in the 2020 election, now you want to talk about Biden. Now you want to talk about Hunter Biden's salary. You had all this time. You had years to talk about Hunter Biden's salary. You didn't do it. But now you want to talk about it, and not Trump.
The funny thing is, Trump tends to offer book recommendations, right? Books that, I guess, make him look good, make his political opponents look bad. And when the book Clinton Cash came out in 2016, oh yeah, he was pushing that book online.
Yeah, he was.
Funny thing about the book Clinton Cash, which deals with all kind of Clinton corruption and whatnot. The Biden story with the Ukrainian natural gas company is in there. Is in that book in 2016. It just didn't get a lot of attention because Biden was really not around that much. And so it didn't really take off. Biden wasn't running. Biden wasn't around, so it really didn't take off. The only thing that took off in that book were all the information about Clinton because we were in the midst of an election. And I remember reading something, I don't know if it was on Breitbart or some right-wing outlet, or seeing video of Steve Bannon, who had a lot to do with that book in the publishing. He was mad that information did not circulate into mainstream. It circulated in conservative circles, and apparently Bannon didn't like that. Bannon was Trump's chief of staff or something, chief of staff. Bannon didn't like the fact that certain types of information about political opponents, Trump's in particular, but his political opponents in general, would just stay in the conservative news cycle. He liked mainstream to normalize them. And that was one of the stories that Bannon was mad about that did not get normalized by the mainstream media. Again, this stuff about Hunter Biden was actually in that book, Clinton Cash, in 2016. Bannon did not like the fact that that information about Biden didn't go wider. But Biden wasn't a prominent figure then, so it kind of just stayed within the conservative circles. So now we have a way to push it to the mainstream and to normalize it. And this is where Trump comes in. And we see how Trump has a habit of believing and pushing conspiracy theories. I think that's a part of it too. Because remember what he did with President Trump's birth certificate. He pushed
Obama's.
Sorry. President Obama's birth certificate. He pushed that into the ground.
Yeah, he did.
And he even sent a lawyer to Hawaii, or he said he sent a lawyer to Hawaii and he was going to come up with some stuff. And then it got dropped after that because there was nothing there. And recently, probably about a month ago, didn't he want the Obamas to be investigated for a Netflix deal?
Yeah. And he's been talking about Hillary Clinton in her emails. He continuously talks about that.
So yes, he kind of has a penchant for being involved in conspiracy theories and wanting everyone else to believe in them. And now he is weaponizing or trying to weaponize the State Department in a way that fulfills his need to uncover all these conspiracies. Where Trump is different though than anybody else, because when politicians are in trouble, representatives are in trouble, actually regular people are in trouble, they deflect. Most people do that. They deflect attention. They blame everyone else. They point fingers. But in Trump's case, I think he's projecting in a way that kind of obscures who he is. I think he's projecting onto Biden what he is himself. That's what's different about Trump. All of them deflect. But Trump right now, I think he's projecting. He believes that Trump is as corrupt as he is. That's what makes Trump different.
So before we move on to the next clip, I just wanted to provide want to respond to Terrible just for a moment. you mentioned you don't know what the payoff would be for, because Trump mentioned, like it's a payoff, that $1 billion is a payoff, or no, not the $1 billion, the monthly salary for Hunter Biden is a payoff. And so Tara Braid says a payoff for Biden releasing the $1 billion that he bragged about. Duh. Now, I want you to understand how ignorant that sounds, because when Hunter Biden started earning that income in 2014, there was no billion to withhold. It was 2016 when Joe Biden talked about withholding that $1 billion unless Victor Shokin was ousted. A move that it seems as though Republican senators wanted as well, because after that letter that they signed made its way to Ukraine, a month later, Victor Shokin was voted out by the Ukrainian legislature. So again, I don't understand that logic. His salary being a payoff for the $1 billion when the two didn't happen at the same time.
Yeah, he was earning.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
All right, so let's get to that second clip that Mike has been
referencing.
Yeah, and I think you want to get to this one. So yeah, this is Biden talking a little bit more about China. A little bit more.
Biden, you mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. All these names, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but Trump. This is President Trump talking a little bit more about Biden. It's chaos. All right, so this is President Trump talking a little bit more about China, and he's putting some blame on Biden here. That's very interesting.
Well, I think Biden is going down, and I think his whole situation, because now you may very well find that there are many other countries that they scam, just like they scammed China and Ukraine, and basically who are they really scamming? The USA, and it's not here. And that's probably why China, for so many years, has had a sweetheart deal where China rips off the USA, because they deal like people with Biden, where they give their son $1.5 billion, and that's probably why China has such a sweetheart deal that for so many years they've been ripping off our country.
Yo, did this man just claim that the Bidens and their scams are responsible for China's trade war? Or, yeah.
Really, not China's trade
war. No, I'm
war.
sorry, like that the United States is suffering from, wait a second. He's saying that China's getting scammed by the Bidens.
Again, if you follow his logic, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, then he connects, like, China with the United States.
Yes.
And the United States suffering because Biden has been scamming China and other countries too.
So because the Bidens have been scamming China, China's mad. And so in return, China starts, I guess, improperly trying to steal intellectual property of other United States corporations.
Well, he said something about China's sweetheart deals. And that's what he said?
Yeah, but how is it a sweetheart deal if they get scammed?
Well, maybe he's saying that, like, the reason why China wants these sweetheart deals and wants to, I guess, have an advantage and go about getting an advantage over other countries in a very aggressive way is because they need to recoup that money that they were scammed out of by the Bidens. See, we got to break this down because it doesn't make sense. We got to translate the word salad into something that is understandable.
It's still not understandable. It's still not. This whole thing deals with a trip that the Bidens took to China. I believe it was in 2013. And they did take that trip, okay? Just to be clear, they did take that trip. And Hunter and a partner of his, he met with a partner in his China-based private equity fund, okay? Now, just like with Ukraine, apparently there is no evidence of any sort of illegal dealings, any sort of corruption, anything. anything inappropriate happening. And actually, if you dive further into it, when you hear stuff like, because look, we keep hearing President Trump talking about Hunter Biden got $1.5 billion from China. That is so, can anybody fathom that? He got $1.5 billion. Okay, so he got $1.5 billion. Okay, where is that money? I don't remember anybody talking about that. He got $1.5 billion. If you look it up anywhere, you're not going to find that Hunter Biden got $1.5 billion anywhere. Now, if there was some dealings between who he worked with, in China, okay. If you even make the connection, again, to Hunter Biden and how he personally benefited from it, he actually didn't even have a stake in the company until years and years later. Yeah. I think it was 2017. In which he actually bought into the company and has a personal stake in it, but he hasn't received any funds from it as of yet. So again, this is more conspiracy theory coming from President Trump. It's not rooted in anything that seems like it's factual. He's just throwing darts everywhere and seeing if they actually stick on a target.
It's rooted in the fact that he thinks everyone else engages in the same great business practices that he does. That's what this is about. He's so sure that this person and that person is corrupt. It's because he thinks that that's how everyone does business. That's how everyone does business. His own daughter has trademarks in China, and those trademarks came when? Right after he became president, right after his inauguration. They had a meeting, and right after that meeting, just so happens that Ivanka has a couple of handfuls of trademarks in China. Doesn't Donald Trump have some products made in China?
He does.
He has a lot of products made in a lot of other countries, but particularly China. So for him to kind of point to the children of other representatives or presidential candidates, it's kind of rich here.
And how they're scamming China.
But yeah, I guess because last time I checked, Eric, Don, and his son-in-law are all involved in business-like behaviors in other countries while maintaining the positions that their father, Donald Trump, gave them. They have not divested. Yep. Trump hasn't divested.
Exactly.
So it's I just don't understand how people can actually believe this man's push to end corruption in some other country is actually genuine, or push to end corruption in a second country is genuine. It's just, I don't know why y'all buying into this, especially Terror Break. I mean, in most cases, you seem to be spot on and rational as far as how you approach things, but I'm quite disappointed. Appreciate that you watching the show and you are still offering your point of view in the chat. You haven't given up. Appreciate that. You ain't taking offense to us disagreeing with you, but I'm sorry, you're just not being very convincing. So
no his last comment is, "You guys sure are intent on defending Biden. What gives?"
You know what?
Hold on. So you sound like you're sure intent on defending President Trump by not saying anything about him, but you're saying things about the Bidens. What we're saying about Biden, and because there's another comment as well from Kyle Smith saying, "So you like Biden now?"
See, y'all are stupid as fuck.
That's
y'all are dumb as fuck.
You're not hearing us, okay? Before this whole situation took place, how many times have we criticized Joe Biden? We have criticized Joe Biden routinely. I'm still waiting for somebody on the campaign trail or during a debate to talk about how he showed up before the midterms last year, showed up in Michigan for Fred Upton's re-election campaign. I'm still waiting for somebody to say something about that, but nobody said it. So we have continuously being critical of Biden is not supporting Trump.
No one's saying you can't be critical of Biden.
We have continuously criticized Joe Biden. If there is something there to criticize, cool. What we are saying about this whole story is that it arose because of Trump's illegal doings. It arose because of Trump's actions. Now, you want to ignore Trump's actions and just point to Biden's potential illegal actions or Hunter Biden's illegal actions. Now, if there's something there, if there's something to actually grab onto, for right now, all you're grabbing onto is that Joe Biden's son had a $50,000 salary every month from some Ukrainian natural gas.
And he wasn't qualified to work.
And he wasn't qualified. Okay, so yeah, okay, we agree it's inappropriate. We agree that's not something that we would like to see. We agree. You're saying that we can't move on from that when it started. Again, it started with President Trump's illegal actions. That's where it started. Hunter Biden started working for that company in 2014. Where were you at? 2015, where were you at? 16, 17, 18, earlier this year, where were you at? You were nowhere. You didn't want to talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it. But now that Trump is in hot water because he solicited some support from a foreign country to get some dirt on a political rival, now that that's happening, now you want to talk about Biden's actions and his son's actions?
And not believing every, I guess, scandal, right? That's aimed at Biden. Not believing a story or a narrative surrounding Biden and his son is not defending Biden. No. Like when you say we're defending Biden, you're acting as if somehow like it's not. We're actually trying to provide commentary in regard to an entire situation, an entire narrative. So truly, it's not really about Biden. The person that brought Biden into this is Donald Trump. So we have to talk about Biden. We have to, because he included Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in his narrative. So we have to talk about Joe Biden. What you're saying is we have no choice but to talk about Biden as if he's guilty of everything that Trump said he is.
Just because he
said it, and just because it's Biden, just because we don't like him politically, just because we think he's a corrupt politician, just because we think he is an out-of-touch elitist that doesn't have regular people's interest in mind or at heart. Just because we think that automatically means we have to believe everything that's negative or everything that comes out about Biden that makes him look bad. We have to do that so it doesn't ruffle your feathers. Sorry, bruh, we're not going to do that. We don't do that. That's not what we do here. Don't y'all want us to think critically all the time? I guess not. I guess the fuck not.
Biden did these things before Trump was even president. Biden did what? Exactly.
What things?
What things did Biden do?
Explain it to us, bruh.
The issue is Trump. The issue is Trump, okay? You can feel whatever type of way you want to feel about Hunter Biden's salary. Okay. I'm not trying to stop you from feeling that type of way. It doesn't look good.
We feel the same way.
Feel the same way. And we have said this so many times. And even if you say that Joe Biden wasn't the right point person for the United States or for all of the West to be trying to, or to engage in trying to get Victor Shokin ousted because his son was a part of that company, I'd say, yeah, it does look like a conflict of interest. It doesn't look good. But again, just because it doesn't look good, I don't have any evidence, and it doesn't seem like anybody else has any evidence that there was actual illegal deeds going on perpetrated by Joe Biden or his son.
Hunter Biden.
Right.
And baby Gene, I love you. Kisses. We've already said that. We said that the last show. Mm-hmm. They're just not listening. So you're taking their arguments to heart as if we haven't said those things. What did Gene say? Yeah. How about acknowledging the corporation and hypocrisy so that things... I don't even give a damn about the hypocrisy, but I will... We did talk about kind of the corporate favoritism that most likely Hunter Biden benefited from. We did talk about Joe Biden's vice presidential position being used possibly to get him a position in the first place. Right. We talked about that. We talked about that the last show. So we already acknowledged that. We already acknowledged that we didn't like the look of it because it has the same look of the corrupt politics that we hate so much. But what we're saying is we want people to point to specific criminality involving Hunter Biden. That's it. That's pretty fucking simple. That's all we're saying. We've already acknowledged and we already agree that we don't like the, corporate favoritism that he was shown. We already don't like that.
Absolutely not. But that's not the conversation.
That's not the conversation.
And the Kyle, one last thing I'll say about, you said by threatening to withhold $1 billion. If you're talking about that was like some type of illegal action or some corrupt action by Biden, no, sorry, it wasn't. Because it wasn't like Biden had any type of autonomy to do that.
Autonomy.
Yes.
That's the key
He
word.
didn't have that.
Show us
He
how
was
he
the
had the
vice
autonomy to do that
president.
by himself.
He had President Barack Obama instructed him to do so. He had the West behind him to do so. He had the legislature and the Ukraine to do so. Not only that, he had GOP senators that wanted the same damn thing happen to be done.
So again, everything you're introducing has already been debunked. We've already debunked it. That's the frustration we are having right now. If you're not going to present anything new that would point to specifics, then we can't do anything with you. You're not providing any good arguments. You're not being rational. You're not being logical. And the reason why is because you just hate Biden. You just hate Biden.
Oh gosh, terrible.
You just hate Biden.
We've watched the video of Biden talking about threatening to withhold $1 billion. Again, Biden didn't have the autonomy to do it on his own. He was the vice president. The president was Barack Obama.
And we know what that was for.
Yes, it was because of Victor Shokin, who everybody seemed to agree was corrupt and was not prosecuting corruption whatsoever. Everybody wanted him gone, including GOP senators that are right now with Trump and saying, yeah, the Bidens are corrupt, and look how he threatened to withhold $1 billion. I was with him back then in 2016, but now I'm going to hit him.
Yo, if you want to say Biden's corrupt in general, yo, I don't care. I'm all for that. We'll say that too. If you want to say Biden is corrupt in this, and this, most likely we will agree with you. We talk about it all the time. We talk about Biden all the time in regard to that corruption. But that's corruption in general.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about this particular case, we're not with it. And because we're not with this particular case, all of a sudden we jump the shark? Hell no. Nah.
And we're supportive of Biden.
And we're supportive of Biden? Don't even say that shit.
And Gene, you said people are upset by the DNC elite being hypocrites and not impeaching Trump for more important reasons, in my opinion. Look, the whole strategy to censor the impeachment argument on this particular issue, you can agree with that, you can disagree with that. That's opinion. Okay, sure. You think there's more important reasons? Yeah, I think so too. But still, this particular issue right here, whether or not, I'll say this, whether or not you agree with the Democratic Party initiating this impeachment inquiry, whether or not you agree it's a good move, solid move, or whatever, to say that there's nothing there, to say that Trump did not abuse his power, to say that Trump did not abuse the power of his office, did not violate his oath, to say that he did not solicit a foreign entity to dig up dirt on a political rival is sticking your head in the sand. It's right there. And it's not just backed up by the whistleblower complaint. It's backed up by the summary of the phone call that the White House released as well. It's Trump's own words. He is giving you the dirt to shovel onto him. He did it himself. To act like it's not there and just to talk about the Bidens, who, yes, you can say the Bidens are correct or corrupt. Cool. Let's say that. Let's say that over and over again.
Let's take that argument at heart and just say, just for argument's sake, the DNC is hypocrites. Yes. They're just trying to protect Biden.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Probably so.
Does that mean that Trump didn't do what he did?
And people can be upset with the DNC and be upset with what Trump did.
Yes.
That's a non sequitur. You can do that at the same time. First of all, people being upset shouldn't cause them to make false arguments. Those are two separate things. I can understand people who are upset at hypocrisy. That's neither here or there. We know who they are. We know what the DNC is. We know what the DNC establishment is. That doesn't determine how we should look at a particular situation as right or wrong. If we look at this, what Trump is doing as wrong, it doesn't mean we're saying the DNC establishment is right in general.
Right.
That's the problem.
Like their movements and actions are ethical now.
You're actually doing the same thing we talked about the last show. You are trying to determine like how to view something, or you're creating an analysis based on how you see somebody else. And so you're giving people cover for being upset when you shouldn't. They should be upset, but simply because you're upset doesn't mean you look at things irrationally. It doesn't mean you believe in lies or unfounded speculation, unfounded accusations. I'm not going to let people off the hook. We still have to maintain a level head here. And I don't think many of you understand what kind of precedent you're setting up. You're setting up a very a precedent that involves a stalemate. Do you know what a stalemate is? A stalemate is where no one can move. No one could make any move. You know what I'll do the next time the Democrats are involved in not just a scandal that potentially involves something illegal. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, I don't care. Because you know what party is going to try to use it at their advantage? Republicans. Republicans are going to use that to their advantage, even if they are being hypocrites. Does it matter? Does it matter if the Democratic Party or some high-profile member of the Democratic Party is involved in potentially criminal activity, not just regular corruption, which we talk about all the time, criminal behavior? Do you know what the Republicans would do? The Republicans would issue their request for an investigation. Do you know what we would do? We wouldn't say, oh, damn, if we, want someone in the Democratic Party to be held accountable for what they did, we want that, but damn, the Republicans want it too. We're going to look like we support the Republicans, and we already know they're hypocrites, so we're not going to want the particular Democrat to be held accountable for particular criminal activity because the Republicans are hypocrites, and they're going to use that in a nefarious way, and I don't want to seem like I'm only Republican. Why would I do that? And guess what? You know what makes y'all hypocrites? You know what makes y'all hypocrites? The fact that you didn't do that with Hillary Clinton. And if we didn't do that with Hillary Clinton, what did we do? We didn't point to Republicans and Republicans' misdeeds when they were targeting Hillary Clinton. We pointed out Hillary Clinton's behavior in regard to the server she had. And it wasn't just an email, it was a server. She had like 200 something miles away from DC.
That's what it made. That's what made it something else.
That's what made it something else.
If it was just
she wasn't
like
just using email. She had a server
like that,
in her apartment in New York without the State Department knowing. We talked about that in isolation. We talked about that in a vacuum. We didn't bring up Republican hypocrisy. Republicans could use that for whatever they want to. I don't care. But we talked about that because we thought that she should be held accountable for her actions. We didn't say, well, the system is corrupt. The system is corrupt. It's just not fair. The system is corrupt. Why are y'all targeting Hillary Clinton when there's other people doing bad things and the whole system is corrupt? No, we didn't do that because what that does is
deflection.
Because that's deflection. And what you're doing is by issuing these arguments we're seeing in the chat, and this is not just in the chat, this is all over progressive networks, is creating a stalemate because now nobody can do anything. Nobody can hold anybody accountable because essentially we live in a corrupt system. We all agree with that, right? We live in a corrupt system and everybody's corrupt. Both parties are corrupt. So guess what? Nobody can ever hold anybody accountable. No party can ever hold the opposite party accountable. Republicans can't hold any Democrat accountable, and the Democrat can't hold any Republicans accountable. Based on the arguments that we are seeing right now, that's the situation we are setting up, or y'all are setting up. Just saying.
I think last word on this, and then we're going to move on. Kyle Smith said, I guess these allegations aren't unfounded. It hasn't been investigated. Not proven does not mean made up.
They have been investigated.
They have been investigated. The Ukrainians have investigated this. They have not reached any conclusion that anybody operated in any type of illegal behavior. That's their words, okay? That's their words. Now, this is the Trump administration right now, right? This is the Trump administration. If there was something there, why wouldn't they just, hey, this is an opportune time for them to do it since it's the Trump administration? But there's apparently there's nothing there. That's why we say there's nothing there, because it doesn't appear to be anything there. This has been going on for years. This is not something new. It's been going on for years. That's why if there was something there to talk about, something that we could hold on to, something tangible. Oh, look at that. They broke this statute right here. They broke this law. Look right here. But we don't got anything like that. All we have is just Trump's words like, oh, look at the salary he was making. Obviously, that's corruption. No, it's not obviously corruption. It's obviously inappropriate, but it's not obviously corruption. It's not obviously illegal behavior.
It's corrupt in nature, but is it criminal? That's the only question we have. And so people keep going back to it being like a corruption or favoritism or Biden using his position to get his son a job, which is all true. We've already acknowledged that. Something that y'all seem to be ignoring, but like we're talking about criminal. Like, is it criminal?
Is it criminal?
That's all.
It's very simple.
Very simple.
This is very simple. Anyway. All right, moving on. Public support for impeachment has been getting larger. There was a poll, USA Today poll, that was just released, and compared to a similar poll taken back in June, support for impeachment has grown about 13% to an overall number of 45% of respondents who do support impeachment. Now, again, just like with any other poll, you have to take this with a grain of salt. There were Republicans that were polled. There were Democrats that were polled. Of the Republicans, only 17% of the Republican respondents supported impeachment. 30% of them believe that it's an abuse of power to solicit foreign powers to investigate the Bidens. So, of course, in his own lane, in GOP circles, in the conservative lane, they're still pumping the brakes on impeachment. Seems like Democratic voters are obviously more supportive of that at this point. So we will see, what it means going forward. There is another poll, though, from Hill Harris X, and that was released on Wednesday. And it did show that Trump was at about 49% approval rating, which is his high for this year, 49%. His overall high was 51% back last year, August of 2018. So the poll was taken between September 28th and 29th, this Hill Harris X poll. And that was after the summary of the phone call and the